beautiful day for another weekly Q&A session. And if you're not familiar with what this is, it's a similar setup to the weekly live streams. And instead of being live, it's pre-recorded. Of course, you can post your questions on Discord or in the YouTube member section, which does get priority. And we'll start it off here with just a very quick analysis on Bitcoin. Very little has changed, obviously, since we last spoke, even throughout most of this past week as well. Still looking at CME chart over here, which is bouncing off of that white simple 200 moving average, which I do look at as still a good basing point. However, I don't really expect anything major for Bitcoin in the short term here, meaning a breakout, like a major breakout above the range high at $95,000, nor a major breakdown below the current lows at about $76,000. At least until about the end of this next week. It is a quad witching week, I do believe, as we do have the quarterly close coming up a little bit later. So, that would be actually a massive catalyst for some big potential pivots on price action. But as it stands right now, I'm still kind of looking at the same thing. I think Bitcoin is still likely to come back down at some point and retest this low. Does it rally first and come back down later, or does it come back down from here? I don't know. However, I should go over here because we actually do see that a meta signal has once again fired off. This is a daily time frame signal. This one firing off at $84,300, and target number one is at 88,100, and that does have a relatively high probability to play out at around 70%. Target number two under 92,000 bucks. Again, doesn't really do anything major for a breakout, but would be a nice move for sure, and that does have a 50% probability. And then target number three is the moonshot, but we'll keep an eye on that one as it goes forward. I suppose, it kind of plays into what I'm saying. Regardless, I do think that, Bitcoin could easily rally up to 88 here, test the daily 21, essentially playing out the daily bullish divergence, which you see down here. And then, perhaps coming back down, and maybe it makes a slightly higher low, maybe it retests the exact same low, maybe it makes a slightly lower low, but that's where I start to be a lot more interested in a potential major low from a timing perspective. And of course, I'll be wrong in this massively if Bitcoin does trade back above that early March high. That is my pivot point for getting blindly bullish. But until that happens, I'm still looking at this as corrective. Anyways, before we go any further, I do want to, for the special Sunday crew here, because I know that very few people are actually watching during Sundays, which is cool. I'm going to give you a little bit of an advance notice of something that we're going to be bringing out starting tomorrow officially. We're going to be allowing any new user to have a 30-day free trial for any one of our indicator packages or any one of our subscriptions starting tomorrow, but you could actually get it today if you so desire. The code is, in all capitals, trial, TRIAL. You can use that for the Crown VMP. You can use that for the Quant Prime. You can use that for, what else do we have it on? The Quantum Wave Bands. I think that the best way for any of these products to work is, of course, if you can actually see it for yourself in front of your face. Now, what I would strongly suggest is that instead of just blindly signing up to this, what you should probably do if you want to make the most out of it, or at least this is my hopeful scenario, is that especially with something like the Quant Prime AI service here, which allows you to create, backtest, and automate your trades, is that you come in with your own ideas so that you can actually make use of it, right off the bat, and perhaps you can actually just earn yourself your own subscription, which would be the ideal situation, or at least that's what I would have been hoping back when I was in a little bit more of a tough situation looking for account equity. A little bit of a free trial like that would be rather nice. And of course, we're doing this because we can offer up an automated solution to actually grabbing your indicator. So no longer do you need to email Elsa. In fact, don't fucking email Elsa. Just follow the directions in the program, and you can actually claim your indicators as soon as you click a couple of buttons. So yeah. Anyways, that's all that there is to that. I should also add that there's literally no fucking strings attached with this offer. It's 30 the first 30 days free, and then if you decide to keep on, then you keep on. If you don't, then also fine as well. No one's gonna be mad. It is quite literally just to let people try out these things and see for themselves. So anyways, let's get over here to the YouTube member section. And I was listening to a little bit of Raoul Pal over here earlier earlier. It's always good for like some bull hopium. And let me just pull my window over here, and let's go over the first one from Ray Nielsen. He says, "Hey Crown, I've been a loyal subscriber since your well days many years ago, and your technical trading course and Caretakers RSI have been invaluable." That's really awesome to hear. I'm incredibly grateful and have a suggestion to enhance your content. Okay, I'm all ears. Views and subscribers. A prominent time frame watermark on your charts showing the time frame is crucial for viewer comprehension. Cool. Well, let's see. So if you're talking about like a external solution to like show the time frame and chart, I don't know, like over here or something, I don't know how to do that. I am limited by that. However, there is a built-in solution for this, which let me remember where it is. I think there's a watermark here somewhere on these settings, which might be what you're looking for. In fact, I can't find it right now. Maybe they changed it around. I swear though, yes, it's right here. Okay. If that's what you're talking about, then obviously I can do that. It's just, easily enough done with the click of a button. But I do kind of like to keep my charts cleaner, and that does get in the way. So that's why I haven't had it on in the past. But if enough people have the same issue, then yeah, sure. I mean, I guess we can do it. It's not a huge deal. So yeah, thanks for the feedback, and thanks for the idea. Anyways, Crypto Rect says, "Hey Crown, can you please have a look at the following tokens? Trying to exit all these tokens look so bearish in 5-day and weekly time frame. Subi, whether $3 pump is possible before getting squashed." Okay, let's start it off with this one. I know a lot of people are interested in Sui. Just trading at 234 right now. We caught a top on this one about a couple months ago. I do think it is in a bounce phase here. I think most things are setting up for a bounce. Yes, they did go a little bit lower than what I would have liked to have seen before a bounce, but hey, at the end of the day, whatever it does is what it does. And in this case, I do think that Sui is going to get a bounce here. I don't know about $3, but I do think it could very easily get up to about 280 or so. I do agree, higher term timeframes leave a lot to be desired, especially, when you go up to the monthly, weekly, these sort of timeframes here. It's not a whole hell of a lot of history, but at least for the history that we do have, it's rather concerning. But you can see that all major moving averages are switching into a bearish posturing here. So I look at this as likely to have a big rally, probably alongside Bitcoin, but I would be on lower high watch, especially as long as this thing's below your February high, way back on over here, which is all the way at almost $4, $3.90. So theoretically, you could, like I said, very easily bounce up to like 280, maybe guns for $3, possible, sure. But I'd be on lower high watch around there. I guess if I was to pull out my bull goggles, my bull hopium goggles, maybe it does something like this, has a big bounce, does come back down, but sets on a higher low and then kind of works its way sideways and up. Possible. I mean, I guess that would be like the bullish view on it, but the way you go up is the way you come down. And this one went up like a fucking rocket and came down like a rock in water. So yeah, to me that this one's very likely to take its time, for like a real move, but short term, medium term, yeah, I think you're ready for a bounce here, similar to Bitcoin. It's like, do we retest the low here first and then bounce up, or does it just bounce from here? I don't fucking know, but ultimately, I think that this current region that it's at will be retested, given a long enough time period. Regardless of which one happens first. What else are you looking at? You're looking at Litecoin at 115. Oh, many such cases. I always think of the Litecoin shills that have been very rude to me in the past. It's not you, obviously, but I always think about them when looking at this. Looking at Litecoin here, it is actually different in a couple of ways than most of the other majors. Not that really Litecoin is a major anymore, but let me just put on log scale here. We can see that it's actually still around some of its major moving averages here. Now that I go down to a daily, it is pretty much in the same predicament as most other things, so fair enough. Anyways, as far as your question goes, is it possible to get back to 115? Yeah, I do think so. Be a little bit more difficult on a bounce. I think on a bounce, you're probably looking for like a pretty high probability move, somewhere around about 105 to 106 is the high probability move right there, in my opinion. So 115 is a little bit further away from that. I don't know if that's relevant to you or not. But over the long term, I mean, Litecoin, is it in trouble here, or is it like on the very high term timeframes, is it in trouble here or not? Look, it's just one massive range. Yes, I don't think that Litecoin's doing anything particularly interesting, especially compared to other coins in this market. And the monthly does look absolutely fucking catastrophic. And I do suspect that at some point it will come back down to the bottom side of this range between 50 to $60. But this thing's held within this range for so long. I could very easily see it do something like this: bounce, come all the way down, go sideways, and then maybe at a later date does try another upside move. But again, that would very likely take a lot of time here. So yeah, just to answer your question, yeah, I do think it bounces inbound. 105-ish, let's call it, give or take a few bucks. I think it's the high probability move. 115, possible, but I wouldn't be counting on it personally. I guess, I mean, it is possible for sure. Everything's possible, just probable. I don't know about that. But hey, hopefully that was helpful. Let's move on to your last one. You have OM at 7.5. I believe we also this past week called a high on there. Let's see if that is going to be working out or not. Well, it's a little bit too early to be calling it like a real long-term high, but again, big problems here with bearish divergence on the weekly time frame of many drives variety here. You're going to have your bounces, of course, just like the other ones. I mean, this one is obviously in a much better position than pretty much most other things that we're probably going to look at today. And just like most other things, I do think the market in general is getting ready for a bounce. Could it move back up to 7.5? Yeah, I actually do think so. This would be the one that'd be least surprising to me. I could even see it getting all the way up back to $8 or so. But the higher term time frames are rather concerning here. So while I do think it's going to have, a nice bounce, ultimately the direction I do believe is going to result in downside somewhere probably below $5 before the next sort of real higher term time frame bounce. But I mean, this thing, from what I've heard, like it's fundamentally kind of like a pyramid scheme or something like that. I mean, most of these things are pyramid schemes. And it's very difficult to get your money out of this thing. So, maybe it operates in a different manner. I could see something weird going on here as well, but that would be my take just from looking at the technicals of it on those higher term timeframes. But that would be the one that I'd say, hey, if any one of them are going to hit your target, that would be the one. Anyways, Drew's view says, good morning, sir. Can we please get a quick demo on using Caretaker's RSI with the skeleton key? I'm confused about how to set up hidden divergences as an entry condition. Great question. Let me pull up. Okay, here we go. And by the way, soon enough, we're actually going to have a Caretaker full indicator suite. In fact, I'm hoping to get that out tomorrow, which is quite exciting. Anyways, the RSI, funnily enough, over the years has been probably one of the most consistent products and used products, which is funny. People usually denigrate an RSI because it's like, that's like ancient technical indicator, but it's ancient because it fucking works. Anyways, okay, so your question is how to set it up with the skeleton key. So that is from the, again, Quant Prime AI service over here. And again, I want to state that, you can actually get that for the first 30 days for free if you want to try it out. But like I said, if you're completely new, probably not a good idea. Like wait until you have some ideas, then put it into action, and then, well, you might be able to make something out of it, which would be a great challenge, honestly. Especially, if you can't afford the current monthly payment, then maybe you're able to make it yourself. That would be awesome. That would be the goal, at least. Okay, so here we have my skeleton key up on here. And your question is, how do we plot, for example, an entry on hidden bullish divergence? Well, for that, you'd go to the threshold section here. You would scroll down until you find the CTRSI D6 hidden bull or hidden continuation. Yeah, Caretaker calls it in the same way that I really think about it, which is continuation rather than hidden. So we're going to call it continuation bullish divergence here. And we are going to change around the operator from less than to greater than, and we're just going to make it greater than 0. So basically any positive read for this condition will initiate an entry. So there would be your entry. Of course, then you need an exit as well. Let's say you're waiting for bearish divergence. So you do confirmed regular bearish divergence right here. I don't think that this strategy is going to work out, by the way, or at least not in the way that we would hope. But just as an example, let's see what it plots up here. Yeah. Oh, well, actually, I mean, this strategy was decent for something like straight out of the box that has zero optimizations. I wasn't expecting that. Credit to Caretaker for his work. I mean, Jesus Christ, you could just use that blindly, I suppose. But certainly this could use a lot of optimizations as far as the equity curve goes. But yeah, anyways, you can see, when it has the hidden bullish divergence as you're looking for, those are your entries. And when it confirms that bearish divergence, that's when it exits you out. So yeah, hopefully that was helpful, man. And I think that answered your question. Yeah, you're just looking for entry conditions. So there you go. Anyways, okay, let's move on from there. Let's get on to the Discord questions. Let me just make sure that my microphone's still working. That would be a good thing to be doing during these times, I guess. And by the way, I posted the new Q&A section over here. In fact, we already got plenty of people adding up some comments. That's awesome. Again, and you can contribute to anything within this forum here just by joining the Discord link in the description below. It's free to do, so there you go. Anyways, Myth Reindeer says, good day, sir. What are your thoughts on the alts that made a new all-time high in the current cycle since the 2021 cycle? INJ, for example. Any hopium left for this year, or we round-tripped it already and lost it all? Well, let's check out this one particularly, but I'd say in general, it's a really good sign for past cycle shitcoins to be making new highs in this current cycle. Do I think that this one's done for forever? No, it doesn't have the same sort of catastrophic structure that we typically see for altcoins, but is it likely to move down lower than this sometime this year? Yeah, I definitely think so. But this thing, I think you really, or at least my opinion would be, you have to give it a chance because it did make a new high this cycle. So maybe it has that same bounce that we've seen on a lot of the other majors, and then perhaps comes down, and then if it bottoms out here and creates a higher low than this low, I'd say long term, years down the road, it at least gets another try to the upside. And well, it has a history of making new all-time highs from cycle to cycle. So I'd look at that as, likely to repeat until proven otherwise. So yeah, I can't not emphasize the importance of making new highs, especially for altcoins from cycle to cycle. It really is a big deal for most of these things, because 99.9% of them do not. 99.9% of them have about 1 month of upside and then down after that pretty much for forever. So yeah. Anyways, any hopium left for this year? I would say no. I think that this thing can get big bounces, especially if Bitcoin were to, continue on with its own run. I think it could get very big bounces, but I don't think it's going to be taking out this high anytime soon. Again, that's just my personal opinion. Let's see. I'm trying to find some sort of bull hopium here. Problem is we need a little bit more history, to be honest. Yeah, I think I'll just leave it right there. That would be my take. All right. Marius says, hello, almighty, or just normal crown today. Teller of trends and connoisseur. Finished tap water. Actually, this is very true. I do love trends, and I do love my finished tap water. It's right here. In fact, today I have a nice combination of creatine and sodium in there. Fuck, that reminds me, I completely forgot to buy new salt today. Damn it. Anyways, got a favorite maker and model, and dare I ask size, with what? Oh, what's your screen setup? Missed that part. So the screen that I typically use to run my charts and in these videos from is a 35-inch widescreen. I mean, I've had all sorts of different kinds of screens. This one's a ViewSonic one, actually. Decent. I mean, it stood the test of time over the years. But I will say that I do prefer my Asus 32-inch screens, which is the one that you see behind, or actually you can't see it behind me right here. Let me just see. You can't even see it when I turn that. But yeah, that is the one that I quite like, and I like to have two of those typically. Not because you need two screens, or you really don't need anything more than one screen. But I personally like to look, left to right rather than up to down. And so when I put them together, and then I have, my social stuff on one screen, and then my trading stuff on another screen, then I feel like I'm at home. So yeah, man. Is bigger always better in this situation? It's preference, man. I've seen these, what are they, like 42 to 45 inch screens, like these massive ultra wides. They look cool, but like in practice, I don't like them because it's so, the height of the screen is so small that, I don't know, it just feels weird. So again, it's personal preference thing. But if I was just say like the bare minimum for what I'd be very happy with, two 32-inch screens. I like Asus. They've always been very, very good to me. But any one of the big brands is going to be fine. Sony is good as well. I've used them. So yeah, man. Hopefully that was helpful. All right. Rectops says, GM, Crown, and Elsa, would you mind sharing if you invested in any other assets than Bitcoin? Yeah, I mean, I've invested in a lot of traditional market assets. For example, let me just pull up my screens here. I've invested decent sums into the major indices, like nothing sexy here. These are very, very long-term plays, but Triple Q, VYM, which is a dividend ETF. I've been getting into that like many, many years ago. INTC. I like the company. I've always used Intel. Coinbase, same thing. Although I don't necessarily like the chart right now, but I'm thinking 10 years down the road. What else do I have? VTI. I have this one as well, and VUG. So a lot of Vanguard funds. I feel like I'm missing one though. I'm sure I'm missing one, but basically all of the major ETFs is what I like to get into, especially with a focus on technology. My opinion and my sort of very, very simplistic thesis for my long-term investing is all of our economies in the first world are based off of growth. That's why you see, such an obsession with liquidity measures, for example. And well, what are the things that are most likely to have good growth? Well, technology sector. That's the one that drives our progress forward. It's always increasing. I mean, just look at the chart of the fucking NASDAQ. Like, it doesn't take a genius to see this one, right? But that's really that's like the key skill in traditional markets, in my opinion, is just not trying to be smarter than what you are, because I'm not that fucking smart, but I can look at a damn trend and figure out if it's up or down. And over the long term, it seems like a good idea to be betting on US tech sector. And then of course, I do have VOO, which tracks SPY, and that is just basically like the top 500 companies in America. So again, very, very long-term holds, but that's what I like to invest in. That's outside of crypto. Within crypto, really just Bitcoin. I really don't like getting into other things, especially not long-term. I definitely don't do anything long-term there. I like tethers and USDC. I like these ones. And then of course, I have a little bit of real estate as well, but I actually really don't like real estate. And my sort of first attempt into it has told me that, look, just stay in your fucking lane. Like you need to spend the exact same amount of time that you have with trading and investing in order to get into real estate as well. And I don't care to do that. So yeah. All right, sweet. TK41 says, "Hello, Crown, longtime follower of your amazingly redacted channel. Nice, man. Since the Rona 19 run. Fuck yeah, man. Looking at CL on NICE. Any chance it can get back up to 100 this year? I feel like I feel like I see this question every week, but from different people, which is quite funny. Do I think it's going to get back above 100 this year? No, I don't think so. I mean, this is a quite bearish chart to me, but if there's any asset where technicals do not matter that much, it would have to be oil, and this is crude light, so that is oil, because it is massively. This is the one time I'll say this. It is massively manipulated by the forces around the world that produce oil, and so they know what they're doing. They can change shit around at a moment's notice. But as it stands right now, I think that this thing's a lot more likely sometime this year to come down to like $50 rather than 100. I'm always going to be bearish on something that has a monthly downtrend, and this one, the trend is not your friend to the upside as long as you're below January's high. If you can reclaim January's high, okay, $100 becomes very, very likely, but does it have to happen this year? I don't fucking know. So yeah, that would be my pivot point for that one. As long as it's below there, I look at this one as down, sideways and down. What's up, Mr. Lovewoods? Good morning to you, sir. I wanted to simply ask, what is your opinion with prop firms and what the benefits of transitioning to setting myself up with a personal account to trade futures? Great fucking question, man. Okay, so you're working under a 1099 and want to get an LLC set up for tax purposes by the end of the year. Could that LLC also transition to a personal futures account since I want to branch away from props eventually? Yeah. Okay, so my opinion with prop firms, that's how I started. You know, I was trading with my mentor and we were under the umbrella of a prop firm. Now, we weren't, it certainly was not a traditional prop firm. I mean, this was an equity options market making firm, and we were trading our own account, you know, or I mean, my mentor's account. You know, obviously, I didn't have any money at that time to bankroll trades, and so. So in my experience, that was a great experience. Like that was about as good as it can get if you're just first starting off, getting into, you know, trading as a career, because this was also like an in-person firm. I mean, you know, like we were in an office, so I got to also be around other, you know, much older people than me at the time. I was like fucking 23 at the time, you know, and people with a lot more experience who kind of run me through things. But I do understand that that's a very it was a very lucky situation that I was in, to be able to get that. I mean, my father was a trader, you know, like I had a bit of an unfair advantage in this way to get my foot in the door. If I didn't have that, I probably wouldn't have been able to do that, or at least certainly not in the way that I did. Anyways, I do want to differentiate between that prop firm, which is like, you know, a legitimate prop firm, you know, regulated, registered in traditional markets and all that, versus the crypto prop firms, or just the Forex prop firms, or just these firms online that, you know, we give you money, you trade, you keep X amount, we keep Y amount. Because I have heard a lot of horror stories with these. I've also heard some success stories as well, to be fair, but, you know, I've heard of a lot of them not paying out. I've heard of a lot of them, you know, not even honoring like the trades that people made under that umbrella. I've heard a lot of speculation that they don't even place the trades for the for the users. They literally just assume that you're going to fail, and then they and then they just take your monthly subscription fee. That seems to be the model with a lot of them. You know, are there some legitimate ones? I'm sure that there are. I don't know which ones that they are, to be honest, but I'm sure, you know, with a quick Google search or ChatGPT, you could probably figure out some good ones. But here's the thing. If you're just starting out and you don't have access to like any, you know, legitimate capital, right? I think doing a prop firm, even with those, with one of those good ones online, I think that can be a great experience. But of course, you have to treat the prop firm as you know, as like a stepping stone in a way, which you are, because in my opinion, it's not, that is not the ultimate goal. Again, I understand for some people, they fucking love it, and it is the ultimate goal, and there are some advantages to it for sure. That's completely fine. But in my opinion, it's not, because you have added risk with a firm essentially being able to, you know, distribute your own profits to you. You know, what if they go underwater? What if they, I don't know, run into some litigation? What if anything happens, basically? That to me is an unnecessary risk. But when you first start out, you don't have a fucking choice. So I would say that that's a great way to get experience. And then of course, you want to come into that evaluation process with your own ideas. You know, you want to, I mean, you want similar to the Quant Prime service over here. it's best if you already have an idea for a strategy, or even if you've already worked out a strategy and then you're just applying it and you're not like wasting time, because that I could see as like a big time sink. Anyways, you go on to say, I'm working under them 1099. Okay, so there are some advantages with that, and want to get an LLC set up for tax purposes by the end of the year. Yeah, okay, so you do have to consider a couple things here. So with an LLC, if it's a single member LLC, it's actually just going to act as a pass-through entity. So you won't really see any tax benefits. You will get protection, but I don't know if that really matters in this case. But what you'd have to do is you'd have to register an LLC and then set it up as, you have to like designate it with the IRS with a special form to either be a C corp or an S corp. I forget which one is which. It's a long time ago that I was looking at this stuff, but you'll have to do something like that. And then there can be some tax benefits because you get to, decide how you distribute profits to yourself, basically. Anyways, could that LLC also transition to a personal futures account since I want to branch away from props eventually? Probably yes, but this would be a question for whatever entity service you are using to set up your business to answer, because I'm sure different states have different rules. I know Wyoming, which is what I use for a lot of stuff, is really, 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 really easy and welcoming. And yeah, if it's essentially the same business, I wouldn't think that there's a problem with that, but again, I'm not a professional in that manner, so it'd be best to check with one of those firms. But yeah, man, hopefully that was helpful. And again, if you want the tax benefits, set up an LLC, but you need to designate it as a C or an S corp. And there's different advantages to either one. Anyways, Capitalist 42 says, pretty sure that Pi Network is a scam and the chart is starting to show a downtrend. Thoughts on shorting this shit? I mean, most of them are scams. To be honest, should I wait for a bounce first? Well, let's see. Let's check it out first. Pi USD. Whoops, that is, yeah, okay. You said Pi Network. Yeah, it's entering into a down. I mean, you can definitely see that this is going to be one of those altcoins that enters into the long-term just fucking death spiral. But are there going to be bounces along the way? Sure. This would have been the one right here, which is probably when you dropped this comment, which would have been the perfect time in hindsight, of course. But, you do have declining highs kind of coming in from that region now. So I would say anywhere around 150, 160 to 170-ish region is a good opportunity, just because your obvious risk management point would be this past week's high. As long as you're below there, it is bearish, but is it a scam? And is it going to, things don't need to be a scam in order to go down, to be fair. It's all about the market cycle, because just like when the market cycle is bullish, scams go to the moon and beyond. When the market cycle is bearish, most things just go to the fucking floor. So yeah, man. I do think that this one will move lower over time. Does it get a bounce before that? Maybe this week. If it does, I'd be looking somewhere around here. If it fails, you'll know, because it is breaking out back above this past week's high. And at that point, I don't know if I'd say I'd be bullish on this thing, but I wouldn't want to be holding a short, during that time. Yeah. All right. Smicky says, what criteria tells you that your algo trading strategy has now fundamentally changed and you would switch it off? The equity curve. The equity curve is always the answer, at least in my opinion, for these sorts of questions, because the equity curve tells you directly, are we seeing something out of the ordinary here? I've seen a lot of different methodologies with looking at the equity curve, by the way. One of the more interesting ones that I saw recently was using moving averages on your equity curve and looking at some of the same moving average crosses that we typically look at, on price, stuff like that. And I saw some pretty compelling things, to be honest. Obviously, it needs more testing, but let me just read the rest of your message. I've been looking at drawdown size, typically quantity of trade under equity high and average returns and losses, all versus their historical performances. Yeah, this is all. These are more direct statistics that make up, of course, the equity curve. But the equity curve is like the first visual warning signal that I'll get, and then you can go into these sort of things and see, where is it fucking up? Like, is it just losing a lot more trades? Are your losses getting bigger? These sort of things can give you an idea of, is this strategy still salvageable? Because, maybe your drawdowns went from 1% to like 2%, just for example's sake, and your equity curve started to fall off the cliff. Okay, so what's going on there? Well, entry probably isn't optimized. So, maybe that strategy would be salvageable if you could get that under control. But at least, you'd have some sort of port of call to figure out, where should I start in rehabilitating this, if you want to rehabilitate it at all. Sometimes it's just better to ignore. Anyways. Hamia says, "Hey Crown, any chance of another collaboration with Fibbo? I feel like you ask this question every fucking week, and I say the same thing every week. He is coming on actually quite soon. Well, I don't know about quite soon, but first Friday of April, he'll be back on. But he also has, his Twitter and everything as well. So if you want to keep up with him, he's posting his thoughts there. Jim Bob 365 says, IMO, anything that gets posted into chats all the time by bots is 100% a scam. You've been reading my fucking mind, sir. 100%. Whenever I see all of these scam comments on my YouTube channel, and they're trying to promote some fucking nameless shitcoin, it's like, that's a great sign that it's a legitimate project, right? It's like pay fucking bots on YouTube to just go ham on people's comments, and just stupid. But yeah, man, I agree 100%. Let's see. Capitalist 42 says currently trading at 142. Holy shit, with the 142. Jesus Christ. That is crazy, man. Jim Bob 365 says, "Hey Crown, what would be a base case for a right translated cycle for Bitcoin? Could it be the reason that Bitcoin is not giving us top signals?" Yeah, that would be my take on that. If I was trying to create a case for that, is that only the norms are selling here and the rest are propping up price? That nobody fucking knows. There is no way to kind of verify that statement, to be honest, man. People get very riled up over these sort of metrics like, oh, institutions are doing this and retail is doing that, but you don't know what the fuck they're doing. It's just a very small snapshot, only showing, very limited data. So it's speculative. We'll never know, but we can create stories around it and people will love that. But anyways, those sellers got out early to get into alt, expecting Ethereum to pump. Okay, so my case for a right translated cycle is exactly what you said. We haven't seen any of the top signals that we've seen in all prior market cycle tops during this current cycle, or at least the ones that I care about most. One of them being volatility has not, it's gotten close, but it hasn't gotten there exactly yet. And this one's going to bother me for a long time until that happens. We've seen all prior market cycle highs come in well above 90 percentile. And during this current cycle, we've seen a couple attempts high, but they've only got up to the mid 80s, which is, about a 20% difference than the lowest read for any of the other top signals. So to me, that's kind of telling. Obviously, Bitcoin has not even taken out the prior trend high here, at close below the prior trend high is what I mean, from March of 2024. So as long as it's above that prior high, like, I don't think it's like super, super wise to be getting, blindly bearish. And I think that continues to keep the bull market cycle, hopium alive. Again, just looking at it right here, the trend is your friend, and we haven't seen like a true reversal just yet where it actually takes out that prior trend high. So that would be my kind of take on that. And, is the cycle going to take longer? Because I believe that's what a right translated cycle means. I really don't know on that. I think if anything, this just means that still the prior 4-year cycle is still alive. Like, we have not seen definitive evidence that the 4-year cycle has been broken just yet. We've seen some weird things this current cycle, but we haven't seen anything that's like really, 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 really significantly different than prior cycles. So I keep on falling back onto that because it just, even though I think the 4-year cycle is like, it sounds intuitively dumb, but it hasn't been broken yet. And so I'm always going to be reliant on statistics that are very, 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 very favorable, in this case, 100%. So I'm going to hold on to that until proven otherwise, even though like logically, I don't think it really makes that much sense, but yeah. Anyways, moving on, we have Texas SigEp says, loving how I can go through the comments and immediately tell who recently came from Crypto Banner Cares. Okay, nice. I didn't recognize any of this, to be honest, but that is pretty funny. Can we check on XOM, please? Sure. XOM. What is XOM? Is it a crypto or is this a gold ETF or something? Oh, it's a real stock. Okay. Getting thrown off there for a moment. Short term up, but I don't think that this one's ready to continue to new highs just yet. Yeah, no time frames given, so I'm just gonna focus on daily, weekly, monthly. You know, I do think it will trade up from here. I do think that it might even tag like 115 to 118 region. But I'm a lot more inclined to say, well, there's actually a lot of really good things going on here. Yeah, I'd want to see where the monthly closes out, because if this does confirm as a higher low here, which it will if it can close back above January's high at the end of March, then I'd say this is a higher low. This is an uptrend. It's probably going to retest the highs and make new highs, 130 or so. Let's see what a quarterly looks like as well. Quarterly looks a lot more like consolidation with a range between 120 to the upside versus about 98 to the downside. So nothing really doing as long as you're kind of operating between there, but have to respect the trend as always. And most of the higher term timeframes are still in an uptrend here. I'll just be aware that this range is very likely to continue on for a while before any sort of real break. But hey, if it can close back above January's high, I mean, that would make me bias towards another test of the top side, somewhere around 120. Does it break out from there? Maybe, but at least a test around there. Yeah, something like that. All right, let's see what else we got. Mr. Barash says hype USD 24 hours. Okay, where's my hype? Where's my hype? It's down in the fucking gutter, apparently. It doesn't even want to bounce when I draw the LARP lines out either. I mean, Jesus Christ, just embarrassing. But yeah, looking at the daily here, is it likely to bounce? I'm not really going off of hype in this case. I'm more so going off of Bitcoin and the other majors in that, does it retest this low first? Does it make a slightly new low, slightly higher low? I don't know, but something like this probably bounces up, maybe even tags like 17 to 18 bucks. I think that's definitely possible, but I just don't like a chart that looks like this, man. As long as it's below, let's call it almost 21 bucks, I would treat it as bearish and kind of just be marking this one down. But, I could easily see a bounce up to like 17 bucks. Does it get higher than that? Maybe. Could work its way up here, but I'd be looking for the same thing here as well, to be honest. Another local high. This one seems to be entering into a more nasty downtrend, but bounces will be along the way, of course. This thing has not really had any real significant drawn out bounce in the past 3 weeks after going 53% down. So it's like, should I be betting on new lows first before a bounce or like a decent bounce first? I'd be betting on a decent bounce first, to be honest. So yeah. All right. Chev says NASDAQ futures on daily, weekly, monthly. Okay, let me bring it up right here. We'll get back to your comment in a moment. Where did I put it? There it is. Yes, I have all my traditional market shit together. All right. Also for the long term, should someone get into BitX or IBIT if you can handle more downside risks? Jesus Christ, man, a lot of questions here, sir. All right, let's start it off with this one. NASDAQ futures, daily, weekly, monthly. I don't have anything to say about this that wasn't said on the prior live stream. I think that you're going to be bouncing from this region here first. Can there be another retest of the lows similar to Bitcoin? Yeah, definitely. But ultimately, this is a bounce region right here, coming off of that blue 377 exponential moving average on the daily. I think the weekly is coming off of the 55. Yeah, you can see that's trying to hold on for dear life right there. The monthly also coming off of the 21. The quarterly coming off of the 5. So this is a good bouncy area. The question is, where do things close at the end of this month? Because that could make me actually bearish on this, or at least looking for another, another downside play. But in this case, looking at the daily, it could easily bounce up to like 20,500, 21,000 even. Doesn't really do anything for it as far as trend goes. It's all going to be reliant on the quarterly closure, in my opinion. And to keep the bull market hopes alive, or okay, maybe not bull market, but just like current upside trajectory hopes alive, I'd want to see this one close above the last quarterly low, which was 19,800. So it's just below there right now. Obviously, there's still another couple of weeks left in this trading month to go, so a lot of things can happen. But if it does close below that low, at that point, I'd be looking for likely a deeper correction into the second quarter of this year, somewhere around $17,500. But personally, I'll tell you exactly what I did, because I actually did buy this the other day, or I bought Triple Qs, which tracks it. The reason why I bought it is because it's down 15% almost, and there are statistics that do show, in stonks, about if you fast forward 1 year, it's usually up a lot more than that. So again, I'm very, very long-term in traditional markets. If you're more short-term, yeah, there's a lot more risk, obviously, but I do think you're very likely in for a bounce off of this region right here, like a big bounce. Again, this has been a straight down move. Does it retest this low before or after that bounce? I don't fucking know. Same shit as Bitcoin, but I do think that you will get, another test down around there, whether it bounces first or whether it just comes back down there first and then have a big bounce, whatever way that it plays out. I do think that at some point it's going to test around here, and you're not going to see lower than here before, a test around there, if that's going to happen at all. And then it all kind of matters on the monthly closure, or the quarterly closure, as to whether I think, it's going to correct more into the into the first half of this year or not. All right. Also, for the long term, should someone get into BitX or IBIT? I don't fucking know, because I don't know BitX's like the fundamentals of their actual offering. In my opinion, getting spot Bitcoin makes the most sense. Of course, if you're just looking for ease of access, then doing in traditional markets is, it's probably fine, honestly. But personally, I like to have physical. When it comes to Bitcoin, if I had to choose one, I'd choose IBIT, just because, it's the more name brand one. That's all. But what was the other ticker? BitX. Who is this? Bitwise? No, it's Volatility Shares Trust 2x Bitcoin. If you want a leveraged play, then obviously this is the better bet. But I don't think you really need leverage with Bitcoin, especially if you're thinking long term, which sounds like, based off of your other question, you are. So yeah, man. But yeah, this chart is fine too. Anyways. All right. Okay. Tobo says, good morning, Sir Crown. Hope you're hydrated. Thank you. I appreciate that. Tesla Daily Weekly. Let's check it out. TSLA, and go to NAS. I do think that this one, alongside many things, are setting up for bounces. I was looking for a bounce earlier than this, to be fair. Didn't quite get there, or didn't quite do it at all, to be fair. This one just completely fucking shaved off like another 10% from that region, or a little bit, about 5%, I should say. But still, it's very similar to a lot of the other things. We can see on the weekly, it is valiantly holding above on last week's closure, above that white 200 simple. When I see something like this with a long wick to the downside, I'm really thinking big bounce from this region. It's also around the 50% level as well. So it actually looks like the prior assumption that things would bounce around 250 is probably going to be right. It's going to be on a closing basis rather than a wick basis. But yeah. As far as that goes, next move, very likely a try to the upside. I think that this thing could easily gun back up to like $300. But I don't think I don't think it's going to like retest highs from there. I do think you're actually in for a more prolonged correction, where it gets up here first, comes back down, maybe creates a higher low at around 260. Maybe it creates a slightly lower low at 220, 225. But that would be where I'd be a lot more interested in potentially getting into a long-term long position if if I was investing in this thing. And, if this one does fall apart, the next obvious area to be looking at would be the weekly 377, which is also a 786 fib here at 180 or a little bit above 180. If things did fall down around there, that's kind of a no-brainer area for me as well. That's where this thing has found its lows since... basically since for forever. We don't have too much history here, but going back to 2019, it has been tested a few times. So if it did come down around there, that'd be kind of my no-brainer area. Until then, I think that this one's going to be a little bit complex in its correction. But looking at the monthly, yeah, it's hard not to see it try to bounce here. I am a little bit. It's not that I'm a little bit. I'm actually skeptical of this one coming down further towards this 377, or at least if that were to happen, that would be like that'd be like a real deviation here and like an actual problem in my opinion. But I suppose time shall tell. Either way, you're in a bounce zone rather than like a fall apart zone right now. So I'd be respectful of the bounce first. Sweet. Treebeard says GM euro dollar. Yes, check out the euro dollar. I have it on my list right here. Did you give me time frames to go off of? Daily, weekly? Yes. Okay. I love the Lord of the Rings names as well. Look, if I was just looking at this chart and it was in like a different sector, if this was in the crypto sector, I'd be like, oh, you got a downturn right here, you're testing the 55. This is where I expect a lower high. I do expect a pullback on this thing, but I don't expect this thing to actually come back down, just because of the history of the euro dollar. It kind of likes to bottom out in regions like this. Over a long enough period of time, doesn't really seem to have those, doesn't really seem to deviate too much from that oscillation. So to me, I do think that euro will be gaining versus the dollar if we zoom out like a year from now. Quarterly looks pretty damn good here for at least a swing low. And I do suspect that this one will actually move back up towards 115 region. Maybe that takes a year to happen, but I do think that that's very, very possible here. If we go down to a daily, which you also asked for, I would be looking for kind of a consolidation to evolve in this region right here, kind of where it's at right now. So I do think it'll slow up in the very, very short term. But here's the thing, and here's like the one sound bit that I kind of just leave you off on, is as long as you're above the daily 200 simple, which is 107 on a closing basis, I think that this one's moving up. If you lose that region, okay, sure, it comes back down to the lows. Maybe it actually does break down. I'm skeptical of that, to be honest, but hey, that would be like the traditional play right here. Cause this should, for any other asset in a different, in a different sector, this would be like the sell point, in my opinion, but because it is the euro dollar, I'm inclined to say it probably pushes through. Anyways, Weirdbeard says, "Hey, Crown, thanks for these Q&As. Awesome, man. I feel like it's putting me on the right path. That's exactly what I wanted to have them for. Anyways, my question is, what is your process for strategy refinement? I'm testing a swings trading strategy, and my initial thought was to compare the hypothetical trades that I'm backtesting to the full potential swing on a line chart." Okay, let me just reread that again. My initial thought was to compare the hypothetical trades that I'm backtesting. Okay, got that. To the full potential swing on a line chart. That part I don't understand in relation to the prior portion of this sentence. Let me just read on more. With respect to time, price, and days in trade. For example, the strategy I'm testing seems to have little drawdown, but captures about 50% of the swing. So I'm thinking I need to refine the exit portion. Okay, now I understand what you're saying. I'm not sure if this is overfitting, but I'm essentially trying to optimize the strategy so that it resembles each swing. Okay, when you actually, your last sentence is the definition of overfitting, and I think that you will run into issues with that. I would say the strategy from what you said right here, the strategy that you are testing seems to have a little drawdown, but captures about 50% of the swing trade. I'd say fucking lock it up right there, man. That's fine. That's completely fine. In my opinion, if you capture even, 40 to 50% of a swing trade, you're probably in a good place. Especially if your drawdowns are quite low. So yeah, man, I wouldn't like the people run into such issues when trying to be perfect in trading or investing when it's a game of imperfection. And that's why I do think it's better to kind of cast like a looser net, understanding that, yeah, there's going to be imperfections in there. You're going to take losses. You're not going to get the most out of every move, obviously, but we're in it for the long term. We're in it for the high probability gains. And I think based off of this sentence right here, I think you're already there, man. So I would say run that on a live account. Keep an eye on, on the actual trades themselves. I'm assuming that you're doing this manually. If you're using the Quant Prime, I mean, that's great as well, but I would still look at the actual trades happening and analyze from there if there's any sort of, optimizations that you could make. But it sounds like you have a working strategy at its base core. Don't fuck with that. Don't fuck with that too much, because that's the hard part. That is the hard part. But yeah, if you're capturing 50% of the swing, it's either your entry or exit or both that are the issue if you want to get more. But I would still first start with just running the strategy, analyzing what happens in the trades where you feel like you should have had a better entry or exit, seeing what's consistent over time, and then starting with that. So if you see over time, it's like, man, my entry could have been better on this one and this one and this one. Okay, let's go optimize the entry. Maybe you need to be a little bit more, maybe you need to be a little more strict with rules. Maybe you don't need to be a little more strict with rules, but at least you have somewhere to start from there. But yeah, man, congratulations to you though, because you already did the hard part. Pizza Dog, nice name. Crown and coffee has been my morning ritual since hearing about you on Elliot's channel in 2021. Fuck yeah, dude. I love Elliot, and those were some fun times. Could you take a look at Swiss Pharma stock, rog.vx? Okay, I'm glad that you specified where it's from. rog.vx, is that right? Hold on. Let me go back here. rog.vx, yeah, it's not. Let me see. Did you give the name of the stock? Maybe Swiss Pharma stock. Okay, Swiss Pharma. Nothing's popping up on TradingView here, man. It's possible that TradingView doesn't have it, or that I'm just using the wrong ticker, because as you can see, nothing popped up on rog.vx. And ROG doesn't seem to bring up anything on Swiss exchanges here anyways. So, I mean, I see Oslo is kind of close. Not really. It's like American geography. Yeah. Oh no, it's this thing right here, ain't it? I mean, that is Switzerland, isn't it? I think so. Showing my fucking ignorance here. Okay, so assuming that this is it, I don't know if it is or not. This is Roche GS, so maybe it's not. Long term, love the trend. Short term, I do think that you have found likely a local high here. Probably spends a little bit of time going sideways and down, but I'd just be looking for higher lows anywhere between 280 to 290-ish region. And likely another try higher. I mean, this looks like a decent reversal to me. Yeah, quarterly, I whether it pulls back here or not, I don't know. Again, could pull back a little bit, but ultimately this one I do think is going to be headed back up towards 350, maybe even more. Assuming that's the right one that you actually wanted to see. I don't know. All right, Maxi says, maybe I trolled too hard last week. What I meant to ask was, do you even get excited about big moves anymore? Or have you completely turned out your emotions when it comes to markets, trading, and say 100% analytical? Yeah, I've definitely there has been like a dampening of the emotional response to any particular trade as time goes on. And I think that's just due to like a psychological fact that when you are continually given the same stimulus or similar stimulus, it's going to lose its effect over time, right? I mean, it's the same thing as like addictive behaviors, for example, like you need to, you get addicted to sugar, you want more and more and more of it, you need more of it in order to get the same sort of high, these sort of things, or, whatever drug of choice you want to put in there as well. The same sort of thing I kind of feel with emotions as well. It's like, look, it's completely normal, completely natural to feel, very bad when you take a loss. Like you're supposed to feel fucking bad, because usually in human history, whenever you have taken a loss, it's been catastrophic, and potentially life ending. So, you should be very, very sensitive to that. But in trading, it's not the same thing, because we can take, a million paper cuts and still be fine. But it's all about the long term in trading. So it's all about, reminding yourself of these logical truths and then just allowing yourself to fucking relax. To be honest, that's really what it comes down to. So yeah, have I tuned out my emotions? No, my emotions are still there. It's just they're not as strong. And then I also have so many reference experiences now of one, doing the wrong thing and listening to them and giving into them, and then two, also doing the right thing, where it's like, okay, I feel bad about this, but I'm still going to do the right thing anyways. That's really what it comes down to, and that's really the answer to 99% of most psychological questions. To be honest, I know it's not like the best answer, just because it's like, how do I do that? Well, you just need a shit ton of time. Some people can speed run it, but it typically takes a lot of time. So yeah, man. It was very hard for me to do. It was very hard for me to do, because I think naturally I'm maybe a little bit more on the emotional side in some cases, especially like when I'm perceiving a loss, for example. It was very difficult for me to do, but if you do anything for even a few years, like you're going to see a big improvement, assuming that you were, having a real goal in your training during that time. So, like, real goal plus concentrated training, your emotions will follow over enough time. Some people a little bit faster, some people a little bit slower, but they will follow over time. And that is going to be consistent for any non-fucking psycho person out there, I would suspect. I mean, we're all dealing with the same sort of mind and machinery in our body anyways. All right, we'll do a couple more. We're already over an hour now. We have MS33K is the macro bottom. Getting quite ahead of ourselves here, but that's fine. You want to look at Bitcoin versus gold. Okay, BTC XAU. Okay, yeah, we can actually get the real pair here on ICE. That's pretty cool. Quarterly. I think it's very interesting to see that this thing has not broken above its prior all-time high. I do think that it's just a matter of time before it does, but does it play out a greater pullback here first or not? If you see a close below that red 5 exponential moving average, which is about 2770, I'd be looking for a greater pullback first, somewhere a little bit below $20 or so. But the trend is your friend on this one, and the trend is very obvious. When I go down to the monthly, same thing. If this one closes below 26 and a half, 26 and a quarter, I think that would be a pretty obvious signal that it is going to come back down decently, closer to $20. But until then, it's grinding up against, it's grinding up against your top side boundary here. Have to kind of give it the benefit of the doubt, I guess. But usually your first retest of a prior all-time high is going to be a pullback. I mean, we've already seen a pullback here. Let's see how big of it is. But like a pullback into another swing, trending higher low. Yeah, it's 35 and a quarter. Yeah, I'd be focused on the quarterly here. If it I think the obvious signal is a quarterly close below 27, or the monthly, especially below like 26 and a quarter. At that point, I look for this one to correct deeper, somewhere around $20. But until then, I guess it's possible that it might just break out from here. When I look at quarterly RSI, I think it's not going to break out from here, actually, when I look at the quarterly RSI, and same thing with the monthly as well. But we'll see. I mean, this is obviously plotting two somewhat volatile assets against each other. Bitcoin, very volatile. Gold, somewhat volatile. Yeah. All right. Mr. Gallo says, seems like Bear Jesus is here and the non-believers fill my Twitter timeline of hopium BS like this. What are your thoughts? Oh, this should be good. Okay. So global M2 liquidity showing strong upward momentum. Will Bitcoin follow? Yeah. This chart, has been massively popularized by Raoul Pal, and just like you, I see a lot of people like reposting this stuff. And I mean, I don't really care about people reposting someone else's analysis. To me, that's just like, it's like, okay, you just want engagement or something, or you don't have any original thoughts. Who cares? But anyways, back onto the topic. What are my thoughts on this particular chart? I'm not the one who made it. I'm not the one who did it. If I'm just looking at it, yeah, it looks like they are very, very closely related to each other. And theoretically, this would imply that Bitcoin should rally from here. I mean, we're kind of looking for a rally from here to begin with. But does it rally to new highs? I mean, that's a real question. But, it's been consistent. Anytime we see liquidity make new highs, so does Bitcoin. And I can even bring up my own liquidity chart right here and see this week is very close to confirming actually new highs on global liquidity index for the central banks and economies that we're tracking on this one. So, I mean, is that a good thing or a bad thing? I think it's generally a good thing. Yes. Doesn't necessarily mean that things are going to happen like this exact moment, of course, but there's always going to be hopium, man. There's certainly always going to be hopium. But yeah, and all models fail over a long enough period of time as well. But I'm just reading this again. Does Bitcoin always follow M2? I mean, let's see. Let's just see ourselves, because we can see. It's hard to. I mean, yes, yeah. It has been pretty consistent in follow. I mean, both of them are in very long-term uptrends, right? How consistent has this been? Yeah. Okay, so it comes down there. All right. Yeah. Yeah. When global liquidity makes new highs, so does price. I think that is actually pretty consistent. Let me see. Didn't work out precisely here, but Bitcoin did put in a very nice rally. Yeah, I'd say in general, it seems to be about right. So yeah, maybe there's some validity to it. All right, we'll end on this one. Just for Banksy Rules, he says, "Hello, Crown. I'm a YouTube member, but can't figure out how to post on YouTube." So the way that you post on YouTube is you just go to the channel homepage here. So I go to my channel, and then you hit posts right here. And if you do that, it'll bring you up to this. And I put these for the members only. I should denote that it is for the weekly Q&A priority group on the members. So if you're not in that group, maybe that's why. But other than that, you should be able to see it. It should be there for you. So we'll get to this one. I apologize for the confusion on it, though. So two requests: S&P 500 current support and targets if we lose support. Also, how has it correlated to Bitcoin since the past 5 years? I can tell you uncorrelated to the upside and highly correlated to the downside without looking at it. But let's go here. I think you specifically asked about, yes. I'm going to look at SPY futures. So not the exact same thing, but basically the same thing. Where is your support level, if you want to call it that? I'd say the daily blue 377 exponential moving average, also a major important low from back here as well. Just call it 5,400, around there. If SPY loses this region, I'd be looking for it to come all the way back down to your August 2024 lows. But yeah, I mean, in its current region right here, I mean, this is a bounce zone. Make no mistake about it. So does it dip a little bit lower into this region? That's fine. I just don't want to see closures below 5,400. Otherwise, another, I don't know, 10% markdown, something like that from there. That's kind of what I'd be looking at right here. Let's see. And MSTU. So this is a 2x long MicroStrategy ETF. Jesus. Oh, God. It's at a pretty nice bounce here. I think that's basically what Bitcoin's going to do as well. Problem is that it's at the exact area you'd be looking for on a lower high. If it is going to put in a lower high, back above 760, I get bullish on this thing for a move towards $10 plus, somewhere between 10 and 11, maybe 10 and a half, right between there. But yeah, no time frame, just overview, big picture and charts. Also, per my prior request, please be sure to ask your promoter to secure good seats. And yeah, I just spoke with the promoter for the Vegas fight. The Vegas fight is on. We're just looking for opponents right now. And as soon as, I get any sort of data on tickets and all these sort of things, I'll definitely be letting the community know. I'm really, really excited for it because, it's Las Vegas, man. Anyways, yes. Okay. MSTU. All right. Yeah. Like I said, if it is bearish, this is the place that you'd be looking for on a lower high at about 630-ish region. Similar area for Bitcoin would be anywhere between 88 to like 91 in this sort of circle right here. So Bitcoin spot has not seen the same move that we see on MTSU or MSTU. Yeah, there we go. So this one's a little bit relatively stronger. Maybe it's just playing ahead of spot Bitcoin. But either way, the major area, in my opinion, to be getting bullish on this thing is the same as spot, that early March high. If you see it back above this early March high right here, I do think that you're going to reclaim the prior range, probably move into like 10 to 11 rate region, trade sideways for a while, and then maybe get another try at the upside overall. But until that happens, until it takes out this high, I would say this is the area right here between about $6.25 to $6.85, $7, let's call it, that I'd be looking for on a higher low a lower high, and maybe swing back down alongside Bitcoin spot. Maybe this one puts in a higher low and then gives a real try to the upside. That's what I'd be cognizant of, because this is the perfect area right here for a lower high. That also means if you see it, move decently above there, and especially above that early March high, you have a reversal on your hands, or a very high probability reversal on your hands, because technically this is a lower low here. You would have a higher high. So, maybe it rallies up a little bit, then gets smashed back down, puts in a higher low, and then you're and then you're cleared for some upside. Yeah, we'll end on that one. There's a lot more comments here I can see, but we are already over time. So fuck. Anyways, that is where I'll end things for today. Again, quick, just very, very quick announcement here, or just rehashing the prior announcement. We're offering all of our monthly subscription programs here, or services here, or indicators here for the first month free now. So that is Quant Prime AI, that is Quantum Wave Bands, and that is, as of right now, the Crown VMP indicators packages. And you can claim the indicators like as soon as you fucking sign up. It's all done automatically now. You just go through the process that is explained in the video, or sorry, it's not even a video. It's a little text thing in the program, and it's very intuitive. You'll figure it out very, very easily. And you can try it out for free 30 days. And starting tomorrow, we'll also have a sale as well. But I'll have more information on that tomorrow. All right, cool. That's where we'll end it for today. As always, I want to wish everyone the best of best. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully tomorrow.